You may have heard the term restorative justice as the conversation about criminal justice reform has evolved in recent years. In this context, the practice brings the victims of crimes together with the person who committed them and other members of the community. The goal is reconciliation and for offenders to understand and repair the harm they've caused. It's derived from an indigenous practice called circle keeping, and it's about a whole lot more than just crime and consequences. Joining me with a fuller picture of the practice are Linda Solomon, a teacher and restorative justice coach with Boston Public Schools, and Chaplain Clementina Chéry, founder and CEO of the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute, named after her son who was shot and killed by a stray bullet at age 15 back in 1993. Thank you so much for joining me today for this conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking us to be here.
So we began hearing about restorative justice in the mainstream in terms of the criminal justice system, but that is not the beginning of it, is it?
Absolutely not. Restorative justice is, as you mentioned, is an indigenous practice that has been practiced worldwide, actually. And so there's nothing new about it. It is a practice that is based on community building, and it's a value-based way of being. And in this circle practice, everyone is valued for who they bring. There are no disposable people in circle in the restorative world. And we talk about restorative justice in school, then we talk about it in the criminal justice system, and I think that there's a slight difference in the way they both sort of operate, but it is an indigenous practice. It's something that more people should know about, and it clearly has tremendous benefits, without question.
Clementina, do you want to talk a little bit about what is restorative justice?
Yeah, so, for us, and, thank you for having me to be a part of this. I think for us, and, I'll go back before I share that definition, because when I hear of restorative justice, although it's an indigenous practice, there's so many definitions. And as you say, there's the school-based, there's the criminal justice. I'm literally reading a report by the state that talks about restorative justice, but nobody knew they did that report. And so I think I want to come at it from more of an individual. And I didn't know I was doing restorative justice until I went to an event that was shared. We shared how we work with the family of the young man who was convicted of killing my son, and then worked to meet with him in preparation for his reentry. And when we shared, somebody shared the platform with us, or invited us to share the platform with them. It was a white woman who was shot by a young black kid, and she forgave him. And that was the evolution of her. And she provided a space for us to share what we were doing from the victim's perspective. And when we heard the word restorative justice, we said, oh, justice is one of our principles of peace, and our focus is peace. But again, healing, survivor-led, offender-sensitive, and then again, healing-centered. And so I think for me, I come at it from, again, the community-based perspective and the evolution of the concept of restorative justice. Then there's transformational justice, and then there's equal justice. There's so many levels of the concept of restorative justice, yet with the same outcome. Survivor, centered, trauma-informed. Community engagement, where healing is central to it. So when we started this, we really started with teaching peace through literature and community service learning, where we are providing the tools for the teachers and for the young people to talk about the ongoing racism and injustice in the novels that they're reading, and how do they connect it with them. And within that part of our work was the young people were able to see that they have a commitment, yet if things don't change, because we're still waiting till people are criminalized, to then want to talk about justice. And so for me, it's still on unpacking the many different definitions of restorative justice. And I think at the same time, making sure that we bring it back, that again, is those of us, people of color, to make sure that we elevate that and bring it to the forefront. And thank you for inviting us to be a part of this conversation, that we're not waiting for it to happen on the news or for who the criminal, I don't even call it justice system, the criminal legal system, for them to feel who is worthy of going through this concept and this process. So the definitions of restorative justice, again, there's so many different definitions of it, but I think for us is, again, that survivor-led, offender-sensitive, trauma-informed, and healing-centered. So while we don't use the word restorative justice, the practices of restorative justice are ingrained in everything that we do.
That is important. This is, it's such an important conversation. The way I come to restorative justice is my children are part of a school community that's gone through, some very difficult and challenging times with violence and just lots of harm. And the term has been brought up many times. And I'm friends with circle keepers who are able to explain it to me, but when I'm in a room with other people and I hear their confusion about restorative justice, because they are hearing about it from the news as a criminal justice technique, and I just feel like, people will be hearing more and more about this, and different communities will be accessing it, and it's important to understand where it comes from. So what it sounds like, what I heard from you, is that if it's taken out of the context of a crime victim and a perpetrator, it could be said that restorative justice is a practice of listening to the offended, whether that be an individual or a community, and having conversations with the offender, and the goal is to promote healing and coming together.
And accountability.
Yeah, and not just the offender, for us, is that offender's family needs to be a part of this.
Okay.
Because many times the family is not integral on the offender side, and when their loved ones come out and they're doing the right thing, they may go through it, but making sure that we bring whoever that caregiver is, because I call them the silent survivors. Right. And then that circle, that retaliatory violence continues, and then these families are then criminalized because of the negative impact that their loved one who was murdered now has, because it's their criminal records that will then be, again, put out within the system.
Thank you for clarifying that. And you were about to say...
And I was about to say that the foundation of circles, restorative justice circles, is relationship building. Mm-hmm. It's about establishing and maintaining relationships, and recognizing that that everyone in the community is needed for what they bring. People make mistakes, and they need to be held accountable for those mistakes. But and everyone that's involved needs to have a say in that process. And so, but the foundation is relationship building, because behavior is relational. The relationship you have with someone determines how you are with them. And so, particularly in the school system, we've seen circles, when they're done with efficacy, change the school culture. Yeah. So it's
give us an example of how, or maybe, I'm sure it's too big for the time we have here today, but what's a small example of how a circle could begin the change of a culture in a school?
When I worked at I worked at the Curly School, and there was a food fight in the cafeteria, and it was out of control. And the principal decided, he really didn't know how to what to do about it, so we decided that it would be dealt with in a restorative manner. And so we had circles in different classrooms. And
when you say circle,
restorative justice
do you
circles.
actually
We sit in a circle.
Okay. Because it's important to face each other?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, we sit in a circle, and a circle represents a gestalt, a completeness. And in the circle, there's no leader. My voice is no more important than a student or anyone else. We have circle keepers, but everyone in the circle has a voice. We need to hear from everyone. Now, if people decide that they don't want to speak, that's perfectly fine. But we have a circle, we have a talking piece, and then we have a set of questions in response to whatever happens. And so in response to this food fight, students had circles in the individual classrooms, and out of that came the idea that instead of having janitors go down and clean all that mess up, students would. And they had the opportunity to hear what their classmates were saying, why it happened, what they could have done differently. And so it changed the culture of the school to the extent that one of the young ladies in the group that I was in said she was pissed and she wanted to get the person who threw something at her. And by the end of it, she had changed her mindset. I mean, when you hear people's stories, it impacts you in some way. There's no doubt. And
Yes.
And oftentimes young people don't have the opportunity or don't take the time to listen to other people's stories, nor do they have the opportunity to hear the stories of their adults. And so when you start
culturally, we're not taught to listen to people's stories, really. So this is also beginning a beautiful practice for young people to see the value in each other's stories, because that is what changes us. That's what builds empathy. It's what builds community.
Right. Let me tell you an experience I had that was just really moving. We were in a class holding circle, and so the question was, who in the classroom do you respect, or who in the classroom do you respect or have admiration for? And the person that most students picked was a student who was quiet and no one ever really talked to. And so it changed his perspective to know that his classmates regarded him in such a way. He would never have known that. And we don't know what students know more than we think. Young people know more than we think, and they have a lot going on. And given the opportunity to sit in circle and share stories and just share what's happening with you, it's transformative. Our students ran home, and the parents were like, "What are you doing?" And so we ended up training parents at the Curly School. It is teaching them lifelong skills. Yeah. And you have to practice self-regulation when you're sitting in the circle and you have to wait for your turn to speak. And we know self-regulation is a precursor to success. Mm-hmm. So self-regulation.
To a good marriage, to a good work relationship.
Absolutely.
It's really a precursor to everything.
It's basically, restorative justice circles is about emotional literacy. Mm-hmm. And our emotional literacy is a better predictor of lifelong success than your IQ. So they go hand in hand. Academics and emotional literacy. That's where when we can couple those two together in a meaningful way, then students are available to learn. Teachers are more available as well to do what it is they do with their students. And we've had circles with staff members they've been profound meetings. Teachers are crying, they're sharing things that they wouldn't share otherwise. This practice is incredible.
So how can we find out more from you, and how can we find out more from you, Clementina, before we wrap?
For us, and I appreciate that, and that's the importance of the circles. It's no leader, and again, we I don't want to say forced to, yet we're invited. I think the word is patience, to be still, and it's not about giving someone the answer. So that's the power. For us is and that's why it says we started teaching peace through literature and service learning and doing circles with the young people and then having them really write about their concept, their understanding, and their commitment. And then they become published authors, Boston's Book of Peace. For us, we do have a partnership with the Boston Public Schools. We do some trainings, yet is that both healing and teaching and making sure that this concept of restorative justice and the circles are not an afterthought. For me, they need, not even should be, they need to be a part of our standard curriculum.
Well, thank you.
It should not be an after school something. It should be ingrained in our teaching and learning.
It sounds like
our system.
This is certainly the case. I really appreciate you both coming to join us. This is such an important conversation. Will you come back and talk to us some more?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
For me, this is great seeing someone who looks like me leading and having a conversation in terms of this important topic. So thank you so much for even seeing the value of this topic.
Thank
because
you.
we're doing the work, we just don't get the attention.
Thank you so much, Clementina Chéry and Linda Solomon. Thank you both very much for coming.
Thank you.